This is episode 324 of the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
Brandon, this is I think you would say the first official podcast of the offseason, right? And
I really don't know where that we divide this up. Do we go by the league year? Do we go by when preseason starts? Do we go by our podiversary?
No, you go by when the mother catfish nonsense starts. See, you know me, Brandon. I'm in real life, I'm a fairly happy-go-lucky guy.
Yeah.
I'm in a good mood most of the time and all that, and I want to be a happy person. And then this dumbass catfish starts rolling out of the mouths of the national media and all the events of these last 2 weeks, and there are numerous ones that makes me want to go on a rampage. I wanted to not start out the new year like this, but here we are, and now I'm pissed, and we got to break down all this stupid tomfoolery.
You know what I think it is that this is like high school drama. Like this is the stuff that you hear in the hallways, and you're not getting it directly. You're hearing it through rumors, or you get bits and pieces, but then other people twist the words and turn it around in different ways. And that's what this is. And this is and it's all surrounding Russell Wilson at this moment.
Yep. And it's all the dumbest catfish. And it's almost impossible. Yeah, I'm going to drop a lot of curse words in the beginning of this podcast because it absolutely infuriates me. So it's really frustrating to have to deal with that. It's really frustrating to have to deal with the fact that the Rams traded for Stafford. That's frustrating as well. We got to watch Tom Brady hoist his 49th Lombardi trophy. That was also had a level of frustration to it. Yeah, I'm just not in the greatest mood today. And the whole league, all of sports, I think, is going to catch my ire today. I think that's where this is going to go.
Well, we have plenty of things to talk about in those regards because you have the Super Bowl. Like you said, we got Matt Stafford. We thought we were just going to be, when you look back to last week and before the Super Bowl, we thought, oh, well, next week we'll talk about Stafford. We'll talk about the Super Bowl. That'll be it. Yeah. Now we have this storm of Russell Wilson talk. And really, it started on the day of the Super Bowl. And that, the Seahawks are getting phone calls of teams that want to trade for Russell Wilson. Now, he's not available, but they're putting it out there.
Yeah. So people called and they said, hey, John, do you want to trade Russell Wilson? He was like, no. And then you even have whoever it was it Rappaport that came out with this? Being like, yeah, he's not being traded.
Right.
It's not happening. Da-da-da-da-da. So remember when the dude from Key and Peele was at one of Obama's press, what was it? The press correspondence dinner?
The White House correspondence dinner, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a lighthearted kind of back and forth between whoever's the president and the media at the time, right? And the dude from Key and Peele was up there, and he was his anger translator, right? So Obama would say something one way, and then the dude would be just take it a whole nother direction in a really angry tone,
right? So
they come out and they say, yeah, we took phone calls for Russ. We shot them all down. And the reporter's like, yeah, they shut them all down. And then Q National Media, who is the dumbass translator of stupid reports, and they turned all that into, Russ wants out. It's over. He wants to get out the classiest way possible. Brandon Marshall's out there running his mouth after he had a cup of coffee with Russell Wilson for half a second in freaking Seattle, acting like they're best friends. And all of a sudden, we got to deal with 2.5 days of the media who, I didn't know this, Brandon. I don't know if you did, because I didn't. John Schneider apparently lost his job 2 weeks ago, and the national media was implanted as the GM of the Seattle freaking Seahawks, and they can't stand having Russell Wilson on this team in Southeast Alaska that they have to freaking cover, and so they can't wait to trade him out to the East Coast. And we're doing it all again, and this time 3 months earlier.
Yeah, Brandon Marshall's comments, I think we should dissect those a little bit because this was coming off of the reports, and I think it was Jason LaConfora that had this initial report that Russell Wilson's camp is frustrated by the offensive line and the production, the fact that he's getting hit so much. And Marshall was talking about his experiences with the Seahawks and the philosophical differences that he saw between Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll during his time in Seattle in 2018.
Every day before practice, I would sit there with the quarterbacks, with Coach Shoddy and Russell Wilson, and we would talk shop. And we would also do quarterback drills. I would actually be in the quarterback drills, like dropping back, 3-step drops, 5-step drops, 7-step drop. So I heard a lot of stuff. Well, this week, Pete wants us to run a little bit more. Oh, well, what about this? Can we get into this a little sooner? Or what about our no-huddle offense? It's like, no, this is what Pete wants. So there's a huge philosophical difference there.
You have to remember in 2018, what was going on with the team, because the Seahawks started out 0-2. Russell Wilson got sacked 6 times against the Broncos, 6 times against the Bears. He fumbled the ball twice in each of those games, and he threw 3 interceptions. So he started off the year with 4 fumbles, 3 picks, and sacked 12 times in a year where you kind of thought the offensive line was going to be okay, because you had Dwayne Brown, you had Sweezy coming back from Tampa, you had Posick, the 2nd-round pick in his 2nd season. Ifedi, you had him as the 1st-round pick, and a couple seasons in. And you thought you had, I think DJ Fluker came in that year too. So you had dudes to start off that way in 2 games. Pete Carroll didn't want Russell Wilson to get killed in 2018. So they made the shift to running the football more.
Yeah, so Russ doesn't want to get hit as much, which makes sense. I don't want to have Russ hit as much. I don't think Pete wants to have Russ hit as much, and that's evidence of it right there. Okay, this is the reality of the situation. That year, 2018, we started off poorly with our offensive line. Russ had a hard time holding on to the football and also threw 3 picks. So what's the solution? Oh, okay, well, let's run the ball a little bit more and let's get to some of these other things. Then Brandon Marshall, too, in that clip, talking about, well, I'm sitting there with quarterbacks and they're running through all this stuff. Yeah, they're workshopping stuff. You know what happens when you have a problem? You throw out a bunch of different possible solutions. And yeah, one dude has the end-all be-all saying things, and that's Pete Carroll. But just because they were throwing out different ideas doesn't mean there's a major philosophical divide between Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. That's unmanageable, untenable. It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Well, it got even stupider with Brandon Marshall, because he made some comments that were confusing. And I'm really trying to, because at the beginning of his discussion, he was saying one thing, and at the end of the discussion, he was saying something else. So I'll play this for you, Adam. And I think the listeners, if they got confused by seeing this particular clip, I'll explain why.
Russell Wilson is beyond frustrated. I think Russell Wilson is trying to figure out how to move on in a classy way. That's what I truly believe. Like, Russ is a guy that's not concerned about how you think about me and what do you think about me. He's really concerned about what type of legacy do I leave behind. He's trying to leave the legacy that he did things the right way so other guys can follow that same blueprint. So I think he struggles with how to move on in a classy way, in a way where people can look at him and say, you know what, he still did it the right way, because that's important for Russ.
So when you hear Brandon Marshall say Russ is trying to move on in a classy way, it sounds like he's trying to leave the Seahawks, right? Like, that's how you would take those comments?
It surely is.
Well, his co-host asked him that question. Are you trying to say that Russell Wilson is trying to leave the team? Turns out, no, that's not what he meant at all.
Are you saying that Russ is trying, really wants to get out and is trying to, not ruffle anybody's feathers?
No, I think Russ wants to stay there, but he knows that Pete Carroll's going to continue to give him the runaround. When it comes down to the offensive coordinator, did I really have a seat at the table? When it comes down to how we approach our offense, are you going to listen? Or when it comes to, building around the best player on our team, me, are you going to draft offensive lineman, a center? Are you going to do those things? And I just think it's getting to a point where Russ just doesn't believe. Like I said, I was there and I was able to witness this firsthand, and I had to talk to Russ. You go back to the Legion of Boom and all those characters and all those different personalities that they had. What did they do? They cleaned house and they said, Russ, here you go. It's your team now. Lead us. That's what they did. So when I was there, Russ was actually entering into that phase of not being a leader, but I am the leader on this team. And I used to have to tell Russ, man, Russ would come to us and be like, guys, every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, I want to get the whole office together and I want to go through our entire game plan before the coaches do. I want you guys to hear it from me first. And I also want to get your thoughts. And we had a lot of pushback and from guys that still had that old culture, that old way of thinking from the Legion of Boom days. And I would pull Russ to the side and I'm like, Russ, we're in week 4 and you're a quarterback. How much money are you making? And who are you? You're one of the greatest teammates I've ever been around. I said, your position, you don't ask us what you want us to do. You tell us what you want us to do. And I think that's what he needs to do here is tell Pete Carroll exactly what he needs and what he wants. And if the two can't come to a agreement, right, then it's time for Russ to move on. Yep.
So it was a little confusing how he uses the term move on initially, because I think he means just move the conversation.
Yeah, move the conversation forward in the idea that Russ, when he says, I'm tired of getting hit, that doesn't mean I want out of Seattle. Those aren't the same words. It turns out those are different words, different phrases, different meanings. And then you got Brandon Marshall here that's talking about, oh, well, Russ wants to move on in a classy way. Is that apparently he means he wants to start this next season with a different offense and maybe a little bit of a different change in philosophy, a little extra help up front and that sort of thing. Move on from last year. It seems to be what apparently Brandon Marshall means, and he wants to do that in a classy way. But yeah, he wants out of Seattle. I don't get it.
I think a lot of people took those comments as him saying Russ wants to move on as moving on from Seattle. And they just ignored that last part about everything that the team's done for him to show that Russ is the guy moving forward and how Russ wants to stay in Seattle. So it's definitely confusing if you're not actually tuning into these programs and you're just following the stories and the small little clips that come out of it. So hopefully that provides a little bit of context, because I think this is what kind of helped build into the Dan Patrick interview too, because Russell Wilson actually went out and used his own words on the Dan Patrick show. And I think part of that interview too was how that interview progressed, because he was on there to talk about the Super Bowl. Yes, they're talking offensive line, but Russell Wilson just watched Patrick Mahomes get destroyed because he didn't have any time to throw behind an offensive line against a solid Tampa Bay Bucs defensive line. So that's what he spent the first part of his interview with Dan Patrick talking about, was the Super Bowl. And here's Russ explaining in his words, essentially what he saw in the game.
Tom got up early, and they threw a few touchdowns early on. The reality is they couldn't block those guys on the other end. They struggled with Patrick was running for his life the whole game, it felt like.
So not a lot there, but I wanted to play that just to show that he talked about the offensive line here. And once again, he's asked another question and he goes back again to the offensive line for the Chiefs. And I love how Dan kind of works this question in and relates essentially what Patrick Mahomes likes to do to what Russ likes to do.
But also, and Patrick Mahomes has mentioned this, he's trying for the big play and not taking what the defense gives you. Do you understand that? And you probably went through this year where you guys were getting the big play, but you weren't getting other things.
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing that they have to be able to do is had to slow those guys down up front for Patrick to be able to go through his reads. It looked like as soon as he kind of was hitting his back foot sometimes, and then other times they were trying to take shots down the field, but I think that they didn't adjust great, but also too, it didn't seem like they could handle the guys up front.
So yes, once again, Russ closes talking about the offensive line.
Yeah. And well, there's so many things to touch on with this, but everything that Russ said there sounded a lot like trade me now. I don't want to be here. Get me out. I mean, I don't know what you got out of it, but
if you really listen for the subtext, you can hear that in his voice, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. He wants to go and play for the Raiders. Like, that's what I heard out of that.
Right. Or the Texans.
Yeah. The Texans, a team that has their own star quarterback that can't wait to get out because of the absolute dysfunction that is the Houston franchise. He would definitely love to leave Seattle, the place that he's gone to the playoffs all but 1 year of his career, to go and wither away in Houston. I mean, that's what makes sense to me, and I'm sure it's what makes sense to us. And it's clearly what he's saying when he's talking about Patrick Mahomes, his offensive line, and his struggles in the Super Bowl. That's what you should take out of that is he hates Seattle.
But now we move back to the part of the interview where he talks about the stars that Tampa Bay had. And this was kind of the theme for Russ last season, I think, about this time.
I was looking at the pregame warmups, right? And I'm watching the pregame warmups, and I'm seeing Gronkowski, seeing Godwin, Evans, Antonio Brown. They got Fournette. They got all these players around them. Watching Antonio Brown on that deep hinge stop route that he ran 25 yards, boom, stopped on a dime. You'd have Gronkowski. I thought Leftwich called a great game and got Gronkowski open early in the game and got him open. That was really cool down in the red zone, some of the stuff they were doing. And I think that they made their plays, when they really needed to.
Okay. I think this is a good spot to kind of transition into a little bit of the Super Bowl talk.
Yeah.
Because it does tie in directly to what Russ is talking about here. Like, for real. So I'm going to stop being a sarcastic about all this for a second.
Yeah, we can get back to that later. We can work in a little Super Bowl. People need a little bit of a break from sarcastic Adam.
Yeah. So I think as Seahawks fans, we all had a little bit of a cathartic experience watching even the great Patrick Mahomes struggle when he doesn't get the protection that he needs to run a high-flying offense, right? Yeah. Like, even Patrick Mahomes could. Did that not look like the entire second half of this last season and, many different seasons of Russell Wilson being quarterback?
Yeah, the second half of this season, the 2017 season when Russ didn't have a running game, and the scribble plays, that's what we saw in the Super Bowl.
Right. So that made you realize how important the trenches were, right? And then the second thing, and this is where I think Russ is erring a little bit, is he's Gronkowski and Antonio Brown and, my mom and da-da-da-da-da, like everybody and their dog, right? These stars, right? And that's what got me going into the Super Bowl. I got suckered when I was making my pick, when I'm talking to my dad about the Super Bowl. I was like, oh, yeah, the Chiefs have all this firepower, da-da-da-da-da, right? And I didn't think about the trenches. And this Super Bowl illuminated what has been a truism in the NFL for the entirety of its existence. If you don't win in the trenches, you get smoked, no matter how many stars you have out on the outside. And that's exactly what the Super Bowl came down to. And Russ talking about, I'd like to have a little more input and maybe have a little more resources spent on the offensive line, is because, ding, he realized that the offensive line is a big deal watching somebody like Mahomes, even Mahomes, go out there and struggle.
And when you look at the Tampa Bay Bucs offensive line, you got a left tackle making nearly $15 million a year. You got a center making $10 million a year. You have a left guard who restructured his contract. He's making an average of 11, but he made 7 this year. You have a right tackle who they drafted 13th overall in 2020, who had an outstanding season. And then you have one dude at guard who is making the league minimum. And you can work around one guy, being the guy who's okay at being, in that position. So,
yeah. And then you look at Tampa's defensive line, right? And you've got JPP, Shaq Barrett, Sue, Vita Vea, and they were able to get pressure with that front four and dominate the line of scrimmage on the defensive side of the ball as well, drop dudes into coverage, harass Mahomes, and then leave nobody open. So they dominated the trenches on both sides of the ball and dominated the Super Bowl.
But let's talk stars too, Adam, because, he mentioned Gronk, and he's making $9 million this year, which really was the difference of what Brady should have made at least this season, a $35 million contract. Instead, he's taken 25. You got Godwin, who is on the final year of a rookie contract for being a third-round pick. You have Evans, who, again, this is a guy who restructured, and his cap hit this year is about half of his $17 million average over the course of 5 years. You have Antonio Brown, who nobody really wanted. Well, the Seahawks wanted him, but, nobody really wanted him. And you have Leonard Fournette, who was cut from Jacksonville. And I could say the same thing about Fournette and Brown. if I can go to Florida and I can play with Tom Brady and have a chance to win a ring, that's where I'm going to go, because that gives me a good chance. I can play with one of the best ever. And that's just part of being Tom Brady.
Okay, so if we're going to compare rosters, right, offensive side of the ball between the Bucs and the Seahawks right now, Tom Brady and Russell Wilson, who do you give the edge to there?
Well, you give it to Brady.
At this stage in their career?
Probably.
Like this last year.
Well, okay. If you put Russell Wilson behind that Bucs offensive line,
yeah,
say it's a wash.
Okay, yeah. All right, great. That's a wash. DK Metcalf or Mike Evans?
I'd say that's a wash.
Tyler Lockett or Chris Godwin?
I would take Tyler.
Yep. Okay, so Leonard Fournette or Chris Carson?
Yeah, I like Chris Carson more.
Like Chris Carson more. Greg Olsen or Gronkowski?
I would take Gronk.
Offensive line for Bucs, offensive line for Seattle.
It's no question. It's the Bucs offensive line.
Oh, so the big difference between the two offenses is the offensive line.
Yes.
Not the minor difference between Olsen and Gronk. And Antonio Brown or whoever else on the Seahawks.
Right.
I mean, how much impact did Antonio Brown have on this season for the Bucs?
Not hardly any.
Not hardly any. So at the end of the day, the difference wasn't all the stars around Tom Brady. It was the offensive line.
It was the offensive line and Brady's ability to get rid of the ball quickly. You can put guys in front of Brady, and as we saw in his last season with the Patriots and really the last Super Bowl win, he didn't have a ton of help in front of him. He just found the open guy, got rid of the ball quickly, moved the ball efficiently down the field.
Yeah. So the other thing that we should take away from this Super Bowl, and I'd hope Russ did too, is this Super Bowl was won by the fact that the Bucs defense was outstanding. They ran the shit out of the ball, and Brady took what was available to him and didn't force the issue.
The Chiefs were taking away the deep plays. It was clear as day, right? That you had Brady taking what was available, moving the ball down the field against a defense that was taking away deep shots, except, at that play right at the end of with 42 seconds left on the clock, they decide not to take away the deep shots.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you can't take any deep shots. You know what I mean? Like, of course, you take a couple, and that was one.
And you had Patrick Mahomes, who was trying to force the deep shots when they were taking away the deep shots.
And one worked and one didn't, right? And not only that, but Brady was actually getting protected. Mahomes wasn't.
And the Bucs were actually running the football and the Chiefs weren't. They tried for the drive after the half for 3 or 4 runs, and it worked really well. And then they just stopped doing it. And then I don't know if you remember, Brandon, but going into the Super Bowl, it was all about Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy and how they're offensive geniuses and can't be stopped and da-da-da-da-da, right? And then after the Super Bowl, what I hear from the national media, the wonderful, entirely accurate, not two-faced national media, is, look at the Bucs. Look at the way that they established the run and pounded it down their throat. And Brady didn't have to have a stellar game, but just kind of, guide the ship. And their defensive front four was unstoppable. And they just dominated the hell out of the Chiefs. What a brilliant game plan. What great thinking. They ran the ball, played good defense, and the quarterback managed the game. They all love it. They all applaud it. Bruce Arians is a genius. BA is just an absolute genius. And then a week after that, Pete Carroll wants to run the football. He wants to play great defense up front. He wants Russell Wilson to take what's available. What a dinosaur.
What a dinosaur. And not only that, but Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll can't possibly coexist doing that, playing a winning formula of football. It's garbage football, and Russ can't do that. He needs more say. We need the employees to run the corporation. It's so stupid and two-faced.
Well, this, I think, brings us now back into the discussion that Russell Wilson had with Dan Patrick, because these are the types of things that he started to get into, the issues with the offensive line and wanting to be a part of making the personnel moves. Because the big question from Dan Patrick was, should Russell Wilson be involved in personnel moves?
How much input should the quarterback have in organizational moves? Veteran quarterback.
Yeah, I think it depends on who it is. I think.
Well, how about you? How much do you have any say in what Seattle does offensively with free agents or draft picks?
I think that it's, I think that ultimately, for me personally, I think that I want to be able to be involved, because at the end of the day, it's your legacy, it's your team's legacy, it's the guys you get to go into the huddle with, and at the end of the day, those guys you got to trust. When you think about when you to Tampa, what's
happening?
Especially being a veteran player, that dialogue is really important.
Yeah, but that's a long-winded way of not answering my question. Are you involved in personnel decisions? Have you been involved in personnel decisions?
Not as much. I don't. I think that. Do you
want to be involved, Russ?
Yeah, I think it helps. I think it helps to be involved more. But I think that dialogue should happen more often, in my opinion.
Okay, I had to speed it up a little bit there, Adam, because Russell was saying a lot of nothing. And that was really the biggest problem of anything that Russell Wilson had to say in any of this interview with Dan Patrick. It was the answer in this question, because spit it out, Russ. Answer the question. If this is how you tell your teammates what you want, how you tell your franchise what you want, I mean, no wonder it takes so long to get out of the huddle. And now, before he got into a lot of nothing and Dan Patrick actually interrupted, he said that I want to be involved because it's part of my legacy. It's my team's legacy. Is it wrong to want that?
No, it is not wrong to want that, number one. Number two, there is no possible way that this is the way that Russell communicates with John and Pete when they're behind closed doors. That you get this kind of speak when you're put in front of a microphone, because if you even come close, like he did in that answer, eventually at the end, begrudgingly, that you give an honest answer, all of a sudden you're traded to the Bears by the media, right?
Yeah.
So he's doing everything he can to try to stay away from that. Look, here's the thing. When it comes down to how much input Russ should have in personnel, it goes to me a little something like, all right, it should be Russ 15% input, right? And then you got the remaining 35% Pete Carroll. And then the last 50% John Schneider. Does that mean that he makes and breaks all of the decisions? Absolutely not. That's John Schneider. Does that mean that he's got a little bit of pull and they at least ask for his opinion? Absolutely. But guess what? Russell's job title is quarterback.
Right.
It's not general manager.
And I don't think that he's saying that he wants to be general manager. I wouldn't even put a percentage on any of the personnel decisions that he would be a part of. It's more, I think back to Doug Baldwin and guys on the team wanting to provide input in terms of the draft and saying, here's a couple guys from my alma mater that I really like the way they played. Maybe the scouts should take more of a look at them, or I know them and their personality, and I think that they would be a good fit. And so you have Russell Wilson, who has interacted with some of these Pro Bowl offensive lineman types or Pro Bowl players. And you can go to him and say, hey, what have your interactions been with this dude? Is he a dude who would fit with us? Is he not a dude who would fit with us? Because he would know that sort of thing and he would have those personal interactions. And so if he hasn't been giving that kind of input and he wants to be able to, that's the level of input that it seems most appropriate.
Yeah. And obviously he doesn't feel like he has that level, or maybe he wants a little more than that. I don't really know. But at the end of the day, it honestly doesn't matter.
And he can want it all he wants.
Exactly. Do you think that Tyler Ott doesn't want to have some input on the roster? I bet he does.
You think he cares?
Yes. Every player that plays on that team cares and would love to have some freaking input on the draft or free agents.
Oh, yeah. They have a friend who plays somewhere else and they'd love to be able to play together.
Sure, whatever the motives are, right? I mean, think of you at your job right now, wherever you may be. Of course, you would like to have a little more control and a little more input over the corporation and how things are going. Of course you would.
That's wanting to be a greater part of where you feel that you belong.
And you're invested. You're invested in the success of the team as a whole. One of my more favorite comments out of all of these reports, right, is the phrase Russell Wilson's camp.
Right.
Russell Wilson's.
Yeah.
Does he have like a band of merry men living in Sherwood Forest camped out that leak information to the press? What camp is this? Is this Camp Russ? Like what like are they on a lake somewhere? Like are they intense?
I belong in this camp because I agree with the same things that Russell Wilson has been saying. I want him to get an offensive line. I don't want him to get beat up every single week. So I am on and part of Russell Wilson's camp.
And on top of all that, do you think John Schneider and Pete Carroll are in Russell Wilson's camp? Do you think they enjoy watching him take shots and the offense sputter and things go sideways?
No,
they don't. They don't like that. They don't. And that's why they went out immediately. They got rid of Shoddy and they brought in somebody totally different in Waldron. They rolled the dice. They tried something different. I'd be stunned if they don't do something major on the offensive line and defensive lines throughout this offseason. I think they're going to spend heavily in the trenches, whether that's draft capital or free agency. And I know everybody's going to be like, well, they don't have any draft picks and they don't have any cap space. Yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see about that.
But I am loving, Adam, that this is now the theme of the offseason. We had stars as the theme of the offseason last year, and it doesn't matter. John Schneider always goes out and finds dudes. He found Jamal Adams. He got Carlos Dunlap the last season. He went out and got Jadeveon Clowney the season before, who was responsible for some big plays the previous season, although it didn't work out long term. But John Schneider is able to do that. So I don't even think you need to be concerned about that. The concern is something that we haven't seen from the franchise in a long time, and it really doesn't seem to have been a huge focus. So I'm glad the focus is on the offensive line.
You're going to be the most sacked quarterback in the history of the game. Why?
Yeah. Well, I think that, sometimes you hold on to it a little bit, just because you're looking for that play and you find those guys, but also so many times it turns into touchdowns too. But, you never want to be sacked that many times. 400 times up basically is way too many, 400 too many. So I think that's a big thing that we got to fix. That's got to be fixed, and has to be, at the end of the day, because my goal is to play, 10 to 15 more years. And so when you think about that and longevity and legacy and all that, and you watch the game the other night, the difference between that game was, Tom was taking shots down the field and getting the ball, to his guys and stuff like that. But, he wasn't touched really. He got touched. I think he got sacked one time in the game.
So there we are, back to the offensive line that Tom had again. So again, this is the theme. I think that of all the questions that Russell was prepared for in this interview with Dan Patrick, it was this one, because he went into the interview, I think, wanting to talk offensive line.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I've seen a lot of people lament, I don't want to hear Russ whine about offensive line when he can't get rid of the damn ball. And of course, he does hold on to the ball longer than most quarterbacks. It's his style, okay? Yeah. It's just something that he does. Now, he obviously recognizes that he needs to work on that. I mean, year in, year out, as your body ages, as the league changes, as all those things coalesce around you, you have to learn to improvise, adapt, and overcome. And I promise you, Russ is going to be working on these things through the offseason, whether that's getting the ball out on time and in rhythm, whether that's checking it down to the flats. Waldron's going to have all sorts of different ideas on how to eliminate the pressure, and whether that's more sprint outs and boots and screens and all of that stuff. They are going to have some answers. And on top of that, this year, I think the way that the offense sputtered down the stretch with all those too high safety looks that they faced, look throughout the playoffs. This wasn't something teams were just doing to the Seahawks. This is something that the whole league, after the whole league adapted and kind of changed to single high or cover three looks because of the success of the Legion of Boom, and teams started to figure that out. Now it's come full circle back to Tampa 2, back to too high safeties. Right. And the offenses are going to turn around and adjust again. And it's the circle of football. That's how it works. And they will have answers. This will change, and it's going to be better. And they do need to invest a little more on the offensive line. And I think it will all come together, and this team will actually win the division again next year over the Rams. Like, it's going to happen no matter how desperate that team is and actually goes out and tries to make big time moves.
I think part of the issue that some people had was they took it as though Russ was throwing his offensive linemen under the bus, right? That this was him condemning his offensive line for being so terrible. And I didn't think that at all. I thought that this was him wanting an offensive line to play better. It's not like he was calling out specific dudes saying this guy sucked. And actually I think you could maybe take it that way when Russ named the actual one really good offensive lineman on the team.
I mean, that's 394 sacks. Like that's a lot. And like,
I think you also get away quite a bit too. You know, I get away some too. But,
you do. That's a lot, though.
I think that, you know, we got to get better up front. I think that, and it's not just passing. I think, you know, in terms of everything you do, you know, it controls the game, as you watched the other night. I think, you know, and you know, obviously guys like Dwayne are such amazing players, and you know, to have him come in was a big thing that I really wanted to make sure that happened. I think that we all wanted to make sure that happened because we knew that what a great player Dwayne was, for example. So, you know, and so I think that, you know, throughout the next 10 years, it's really important for me personally, but also just, you know, throughout, you know, my career that, you know, we make sure that we do everything we can, including myself, do everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen.
Now, if I'm nitpicking and I hear him say what a great player Dwayne was, I hope he's just talking about this last season, because he was a great player this last season and not was past tense in terms of his entire career. But that's being awfully nitpicky, and I don't think that's what he's going for.
Yeah, no, that is being awfully nitpicky. And hey, here's another thing, national media, if you listen to that answer, it's not just the passing game that we got to get better in. We just watched it in the Super Bowl. You know, you got to be dominant down there in all phases, right? Yeah. I can't remember the exact wording.
He didn't use the word run, but he hinted at the ability to run the football.
That's what he's actually talking about. But the philosophical divide between him and Pete is insurmountable.
Insurmountable, yep.
Yeah, Russ, all he wants to do is chuck it. Air Russ. Alaska Air Russ.
No, he knows how to win. Pete Carroll knows how to win. They know how to make this happen. But I'm going back to it again. I am happy that Russell Wilson is making the offensive line the focus, because it tells me that he sees where the problem is, and we're getting into that stage. You talked about the 3 stages of the quarterback and the life cycle. He's getting into this third stage more quickly, and that's what we need to happen.
I think so. I think you'll see that in his next contract negotiation as well. You know, you mentioned Brady should probably have been playing for closer to
35,
34. Yeah, rather than 25. I mean, I think you're going to see that going forward for Russ if he really does care about his legacy in team success. And guess what? Spoiler alert. I think he actually does. Believe it or not, I think he does. And on top of that, again, and it's like beating a dead horse. None of that is, I have no confidence in the Seahawks to figure this out and I want gone. It's, hey, let's pay attention to this. And I guarantee you that the whole personnel department is sitting down with Schneider and they're talking about, how do we address this? It's the biggest weakness on our team, offensive line.
I do think, though, there was one part of this interview that people were able to twist the most into however they wanted to take it. Because this was the part where Russell was asked about the Seahawks getting calls about trading for him.
I definitely believe they're getting calls for sure. I think that, I think anytime you're, a player that, tries to produce every week and has done it for, consistently, I think people are going to call for sure. And I think it's part of the process.
Yeah, but you're a franchise quarterback. You're a Hall of Fame quarterback. You're not available, are you?
Well, I'm not sure if I'm available or not. That's a Seahawks question. But I think more than anything else is, I think at the end of the day, you want to win. You play this game every day to wake up to win. You play this game, to be the best in the world. What I hate? I hate sitting there watching other guys play the game. There's nothing worse.
By the way, you looked miserable at the Super Bowl watching.
Yeah, there's a picture of Sierra and Roger talking. I'm sitting there pissed off. I'm watching this game, wishing that I was in there playing. I think that, I think that, ultimately you watch the games and, you want to do everything you can to be there. That's why we play this game, and so I think that part of it's really key. And I think that, the reality of professional sports is, things happen, things change. I'm not sure, how long I'll play in Seattle. I think hopefully it was going to be forever, but things change obviously along the way. And I think that you focus on what you can control every day and try to be the best version of yourself and, ultimately try to win championships. And I think that's why I play this game.
I think what people wanted to hear from Russ is, I'm a Seahawk. I have a no trade clause. But, then you have other people who say, well, he said, I want to be here, hopefully forever. So I think that's the part where people took it one of two ways, wherever they wanted to go, and use that as the jumping off point.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we talk about the Pete translator, right? Like when we come on here and try to, parse Pete, right? Well, here's a little dangerous talk right here for you. This is what he said. Dan asks him, "Oh, well, you're not available, are you?" And what Russ said, you all heard, but what he actually was saying was, well, that's John Schneider's decision, and I don't think I am. But, ultimately, I guess he could pull the trigger. And then goes on to say, things in this league change, and if you're a good player, of course, people are calling about you. I mean, people are calling about Tom Brady right now. Like they are. Everybody, if you do your due diligence as a GM, you're calling about every productive player on every team for the most part. And then through all that, he goes, well, I would hopefully like to be here forever, but you never know. Life changes. Oh, that's being a realist. That's just recognizing how the world freaking works. You know how much different that sounds than Deshaun Watson? I mean, do you hear Deshaun Watson being like, yeah, hopefully I'm here as a Texan forever, but I demand a trade.
Right.
That's not what he's saying. He's not saying, I hope I'm here forever. Russ is saying, I hope I'm here forever. Get the sawdust out of your ears.
Well, and I think there's a part of this too, because remember that Russ does have a no trade clause. So I think he can dictate where he gets traded to if he wants out. So I think he's playing a little bit naive to say that he doesn't know if he's available. Because he has a trade clause, and so I think he would know if he were available in that particular moment. But it did get me to thinking, though, too. I mean, is this part of the always compete mindset to have that kind of leverage that John Schneider is always open to taking calls for Russell Wilson because you have about 2/3 of the league calling into John, these other teams doing their due diligence, quote unquote. This can spark discussions about these other moves too. So it's beneficial to have John taking these calls and getting into discussions about other players too. So what if this is like some kind of collaborative effort at competing at roster moves?
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And it's just a part of being a GM. It's a part of being an NFL franchise. You're going to get calls about every single player, even your franchise quarterback. But
I'm saying Russ could have a part in that too by making sure it is known that John Schneider is open to taking these types of calls.
I see. So he words it that way so that it kind of encourages other teams to call so John can get a foot in the door and start maybe talking about other things.
Sure. Why not?
Oh, why not? Hey, that's a better theory than this garbage I'm hearing out of most of the national media. Look, the other thing is that keeps going through my head is the phrase, it's about the money, Lebowski. What would be the dead cap hit on trading Russell Wilson?
Oh, yeah. They would have to do some kind of move. Like, I think with Deshaun Watson, wouldn't it kind of make sense because they kind of offset, they're similar, that sort of thing?
I don't know exactly how it works, but I do know that the dead cap hit for Russell Wilson's contract, if you traded him, will be freaking enormous. And if you don't really have much cap space to begin with, you can't do it.
No, you're talking about...
It's just math.
You're talking about rebuilding long-term, and I'm sure that they can... I mean, they found a way to trade Jared Goff with his huge dead cap hit.
I suppose. But are the Seahawks trying to rebuild long-term right now? Or do they feel like they're about 2 moves away from a Super Bowl?
They're trying to win now. Just like Well, the Rams are trying to win now by going out and getting Matt Stafford.
Yeah. I think I've had enough talking about stupid rumors. So yeah, let's talk about reality. Stafford to the Rams. What was like just Malcolm Gladwell has that book Blink, right? About your first impression and your gut. And that's usually the right one when it comes to situations or certain things. What was your gut reaction when you saw the little banner pop up on your phone? Matt Stafford to the Lions for Jared Goff and 46 draft picks.
Well, I had a chance to think about this a while because there was all that discussion around 49ers fans and saying, oh yeah, if we get Matt Stafford, that would be an upgrade from Jimmy G. And I pointed out, I think accurately, that they would go from having the third best quarterback to having the third best quarterback in the division.
Who's the second best one then?
I mean, by our scale, injured Russell Wilson is the second best, but then Kyler Murray.
You think Kyler Murray is better than Matt Stafford?
I would take Kyler Murray over Matt Stafford.
Are you drunk?
No.
Are you sure? Are you high? Are you on drugs?
I think
I'm worried about your safety.
No. Kyler Murray's a more dynamic player. He plays for a worse coach, but he's a more dynamic player.
He's a flashier player, but he is not the better quarterback. Not even close. Going into next year,
who's going to win a playoff game first?
Matt Stafford.
I don't know about that.
Oh, I do. See, I saw your little statistical analysis about, how much of an upgrade Stafford is over with some of these other guys, right? And
that was a little bit tongue in cheek. I know that Matt Stafford is better than Jared Goff. I just don't know if he is enough to get the Rams over the hump and make a run in the playoffs. I don't know if Matt Stafford's that kind of quarterback because I haven't seen that from him in the playoffs. I was listening to KJR and they had one of the Pro Football Focus guys, and they always talk about, oh, if you have a quarterback that makes such and such percentage of the cap, then no team has ever won with their quarterback making over 13.789% of the cap. And so it's really impossible to win in the NFL, to win a Super Bowl that way, because until I've seen it done, I believe it to be impossible. Well, if that's the logic, then I believe that winning a playoff game with Matt Stafford is impossible until he actually does
it. Yeah, that is pretty funny. So I guess I will tell you my gut reaction to this trade. And I honestly so my gut reaction is one thing. And I actually do have some questions about what this actually means for the Rams going forward, looking at history. So my gut reaction went a lot like this. Oh, catfish! They are markedly better at quarterback. There's no doubt about it. Going from Jared Goff, who might be the 35th best quarterback in the league.
He's probably in the top 20. He probably squeaks into the top 20.
Dude, I don't even know what to do with that. Like, I really don't.
What? You don't think I can go out there and find 12 worse quarterbacks than Jared Goff in the NFL?
You don't think I can find 34 better quarterbacks than Jared Goff in the NFL?
I think you're underrating him a little bit. He's not.
Jameis Winston's better.
I don't know.
And he's a backup.
I don't know about that.
Taysom Hill's better.
No, I know that's not
Goff
true.
Stinks. Oh, yes, it is. Goff stinks. He stinks.
I think your Rams hatred is spewing over to Jared Goff.
He can't move. He's not accurate. He can't play off script. I mean, he's Sam Bradford, who was never worth a catfish in this league. Like, Jared Goff is not good. He's just not good. And Matt Stafford, he's a borderline top 10 quarterback. Now, so my initial reaction was, oh, crap. They've got maybe the best defense in the league, an offensive line that overperformed last year, is better than I thought. The skill position guys are pretty good. Shorter running back. I think the Akers thing is still wildly overrated. But Matt Stafford is a massive upgrade over Jared Goff. And this feels a lot like when Peyton Manning went to the Broncos. They were a quarterback away.
This is nothing like Peyton Manning going to the Broncos.
I think it's closer to that than it is Jay Cutler to the Bears. That was my gut feeling.
That was kind of a wash, though.
And if I'm an LA fan, and I know there's only 7 of them, but if I was one of those 7 people,
yeah.
Well,
they have 7 now because
3
of them came over from Detroit who were just really big Matt Stafford fans.
Yeah, I would be thrilled that my organization went out and did this. I know they've mortgaged the next 4 years of their future. I get that. There's no doubt about it. But you have the defense in place to win a championship, and you're just a quarterback away. Win now. Go out and get the best guy that you can. And Stafford's that guy. Stafford is a far better leader. He's much more mobile. He's far more accurate. He's far more creative. He's tough as freaking nails. I mean, he really is. Now, he's also very injury prone.
Oh, yeah. He's getting injured every year. I look at him and I wonder if the things that were an issue for him in Detroit are things that go along with Matt Stafford, or if it's a franchise issue, because I have so many questions about him always playing from behind. Is he a slow starting quarterback?
That's a question for you? If it's a Matt Stafford problem or a Detroit Lions problem?
It is a question, because until I see it answered, I don't know. I can't separate the two.
You can't.
Well, how is he able to play well late in games then, but not able to play well early in games with the exact same team?
Oh, this is very simple. Have they ever been able to run the ball when they've had Matt Stafford at quarterback?
No. And they've tried to run the ball with Matt Stafford. They brought in dudes after dudes after dudes, and they haven't been able to get it done.
Right. So that's a Matt Stafford problem?
I don't know. Is it?
How can you not know? Does Matt Stafford run the ball or block defensive linemen?
I don't know if that is.
Does he coach the running scheme?
Is he a guy who wants the ball and is demanding of it, and so they have to build this offense around him because he needs to be throwing the ball 40, 50 times to be the type of player that he is?
Mr. Ego, Captain Demanding, Matt Stafford, who put up with the Detroit Lions for 12 freaking years and didn't say crap? Yeah, that guy?
Nobody hears from him because he's in Detroit. Nobody goes even to ask him.
No, it is clear that the problem with Matt Stafford's career, by and large, is the team that he has been on, the franchise that he's been in. There's no doubt about that. It's as clear as the day is long.
How could you not find a dude to run the football when there's so many running backs out there, and you have Calvin Johnson, first ballot Hall of Famer that you're throwing to? You have all these other wide receivers. How can you have all of those weapons to open up the run game and not be able to run the football?
I mean, maybe GM Matt Stafford can tell you how he whiffed on all those running back draft picks. Oh, wait, he wasn't the guy making those decisions.
I've been told by the stats nerds out there that it doesn't matter where you draft a running back. You can get one anywhere. You can plug it in. And as long as you have all the pieces around him, you can find a way to run the ball just about as good as everybody else.
That's how dysfunctional the Detroit Lions have been. They couldn't even do that.
In 12 years. They didn't luck their way into one running back that could offer Matt Stafford some kind of help.
I know. Crazy, huh?
I'm beyond, if that's what happened, and
is it not?
I'm not willing to accept it.
Okay. Yeah. You're a denier.
I am.
Let me ask you a second question. How does this LA Rams team compare to any team that Matt Stafford had in Detroit throughout his entire career?
And this is the one thing that I will say is that now he goes from having a team that, because I can understand the general manager, if he can't put together a defense, even with a defensive minded coach, over the course of Matt Stafford's career, enough to get them a playoff win, then that's really the missing piece. And so the Rams having a defense to pair along with him, that's a significant difference.
Yeah, this is easily the best team that he's played on during his NFL career. Easily, by a mile. Now, Jared Goff and Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't succeed with those vastly improved teams compared to the Detroit. What do you think the Detroit Lions records would have been if Jimmy G or Jared Goff had been their quarterback over the last 5 seasons? They may have won a total of 2 games.
That's the other thing, though. how many winning seasons has Matt Stafford really had?
Yeah.
And you have people who are fans of the 49ers and even before the trade happening saying that, oh, you put Matt Stafford in this system and he's going to throw 50 touchdown passes. He's going to be the NFL MVP in the 49ers offensive system. And now he's going to LA and you hear some of these same things. It's like, well, slow down a little bit. Like, that's not historically what we've seen from him.
Yes. Not only historically what we've seen from him, but historically what we've seen when the aging quarterback, a franchise quarterback, is traded to a new team late in his career. So this is the second half of what I was thinking. And I tried to put this a little bit in historical context. I went back and I was thinking, I was like, how we've seen these people talk about, well, Stafford going to the Rams. We've never seen crap like this before. This is bananas. Like, who could have ever seen this coming?
Yeah.
This has happened again and again and again throughout the history of the NFL. So I tried to rack my brain of all the different times like this sort of trade has gone down, or a team that seems to be a quarterback away brings in that aging veteran, and whether or not it's worked out or not. So I racking my brain, going back and trying to think of it. I started thinking back, Warren Moon to the Vikings. Did they ever win a championship?
They came close.
But did they ever win a championship?
No.
And to me, if you're the Rams and you're trading for Stafford, you're trading 4 years worth of your future away, the only measure of success is a trophy.
Yeah.
Lombardi. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Everything else is a failure. And most of these other teams kind of viewed it the same way. Joe Montana to the Chiefs.
Didn't win.
Did they win a championship?
No.
They didn't.
You brought up Jay Cutler to the Bears. That didn't work.
Nope. It didn't work.
I got one name. Fran Tarkenton.
Yeah.
Back to the Vikings after his time with the Giants.
No championships.
That's right. He didn't win a championship.
He didn't, no.
They went to the Super Bowl a couple times, though.
Right? No, brings me to the first one that I could think of where it actually worked out. Brad Johnson to the Bucs.
Okay.
They win one with Gruden, right? How about the Ravens that won the Super Bowl in 2002, and they immediately ditched Trent Dilfer and bring in Elvis Gerbach?
Okay.
Didn't work out.
No.
That was a massive upgrade at quarterback for them, right?
Yeah, I guess from Dilfer to Gerbach.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
just because
that's
Dilfer
like Goff to Stafford.
Okay. I guess I put Dilfer below Goff, and I put Gerbach below Stafford.
I think Dilfer and Goff are closer than you'd think.
Okay.
Yeah. Another Ravens example, when they brought in Steve McNair, did they win a championship?
No.
Cutler, you mentioned.
Brady.
Let's see if I can.
Brady won a championship with Tampa Bay this year.
Okay. And Peyton won one with the Broncos.
Yeah.
But that turned out to be despite him by the end of it.
It was because of the defense, the moves that they made on defense. Yeah.
Yeah. To improve an already pretty stellar defense. So overall, and there's multiple other examples of this. Favre to the Vikings.
Yeah. Never got it done.
Didn't win a championship. So you go through and you start looking at all these.
But you named an awful lot of playoff teams.
Right. But if you're trading away half a decade of your future, anything less than a championship is a failure. So odds are this is going to be a failure. And not only that, but the quarterbacks that were traded late in their careers, the only ones where it worked out were players that had a pedigree of winning when it was all said and done.
That's true.
Manning, Brady.
Yeah, guys who have actually won playoff games.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, maybe this is closer to Cutler than it is Peyton Manning. I know I'm contradicting myself from just a few minutes earlier in the pod, but
I feel like I've been consistent in this discussion.
Yeah. No, this is kind of how I wanted this discussion to go because my gut was, oh crap, this is Peyton Manning to the Broncos. And then as I looked at it a little more historically, I was like, maybe this is more like Jay Cutler to the Bears.
Well, I hope so, because I'm ready for this to just be a 2-team division. The Cardinals and the Rams can fight it out toward the bottom for these coming years, and we can have a rivalry with the 49ers.
Who's their quarterback going to be?
Oh, I don't know, but they'll still be the second best team, and we'll have this kind of rivalry. That we always beat them, but we still see them as our rival because historically. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can beat Nick Mullins a bunch. That'll be fine.
Yeah, whoever it is.
Well, it's not going to be Jimmy G.
I think they do have a top pick, though, this year, don't they?
It's like a mid-rounder.
Yeah.
Mid-first
rounder. They could trade up
it's
for
like,
a quarterback.
It's like 12 or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah. They could package Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, send all those players to Jacksonville or the Jets or something, and then get one of the top 2 quarterbacks.
If you're John Lynch, would you even think about that?
No, but I doesn't stop me from wanting it to happen.
True. Maybe they're still in on this Watson thing. I don't know.
I hope not. It's going to take so much, though, to try and get Watson. I just don't see it happening. I don't see how any team can put enough together to make that trade happen.
But if you're the Texans, like, what do you do? Like, you're just going to play a year without Deshaun and just have him sitting on the sidelines?
Yeah, he's under contract. Show up or don't.
He won't.
Okay.
At this point, if you're Deshaun Watson, there is no way you can show up this year. You have to Le'Veon Bell this.
That's an awful lot of money to do that.
Yeah, but you have to. You painted yourself into this corner.
That's a big swing.
And not only that, like you can't stand this organization.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
Well, I still don't know why he signed that contract in the first place.
I don't know. He saw dollar signs or something. I'm not saying Deshaun Watson makes all the best decisions all the time.
I guess you do it to get the paycheck, and then you get your life-changing money, and then you go, okay, well, now I'm going to go full diva.
He probably thought that they were going to be more competitive this year. And when it all just came totally unwound, nope, I'm not doing a full-on rebuild. Not doing it. That would be my guess.
I hope he doesn't end up in San Francisco. That's the one spot.
I just hope Russell Wilson doesn't end up in San Francisco.
Yeah, I know that's not happening. I did some analysis, though, over this past couple weeks. I did a really deep analytical dive into our new offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron.
Yeah.
Looked through a lot of the data.
Mm-hmm.
And I've come to one huge conclusion about one thing that I think will lead to some really big success with the Seahawks.
That we can't call him Sugar Shane. Right?
You don't like Sugar Shane?
No, I hate that.
What about Shane the Brain?
Better.
Okay.
Better. I just go with Waldy.
How about just Shane if you're going to do that?
I don't know. It's a pretty average white guy name, right?
Waldy.
Brandon and Adam.
Shane. He can be part of our club. The average dude name club.
I think if he wanted to spice it up, he needs to put like an apostrophe after the S or something. Like DeBrickashaw.
Ooh.
Like, you gotta, yeah.
Shahane.
Shahane. There it is. Yeah. Spice it up. Make it cool.
I do like Shahane.
Yeah.
Is that a name? It should be.
It is now. He better put in the name change form into the county courthouse here right quick.
Shahane Waldron.
Shahane.
Oh, it's too bad I'm done having kids. I'd have a boy named Shahane.
You can always adopt.
I could.
And his name could be like Andrew, and you just change it to Shahane.
Because why not? Because I can.
Yeah. No, I'm Andy. Not anymore, Shahane.
Which one of my daughters will I pick to rename Shahane?
Oh, the middle one.
Definitely.
Yeah.
She would be, because she's not going to say anything.
No. Like, because she's so good natured.
Right.
Yeah, you're not going to get any blowback.
That's where I'm going to go.
Mm-hmm.
No, this analytical dive I did, Adam.
Oh, right.
I have found information that listeners to this show are going to appreciate. Okay. Shane Waldron does not appear to be a guy who has, will, or will ever wear a hobo hat.
And that is, I had 3 questions about Shahane before he was brought in. And the second most important one was, how many hobo hats has this man wore in his entire life? Because I can't have any more visors in my life.
By my data analysis, I believe the answer to be 0.
Okay. How many games is he going to call from the skybox?
I don't know. I don't have data on that one.
No data.
No data.
Okay.
What was the third question?
Oh, what's his affinity for bubble screens?
Yeah. I think one of the things that the Rams do, I think they run them more effectively. They find a way to disguise them. They have a little bit tighter formations.
Yep, that's true. They do run a lot of tighter splits, or at least they used to.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to look going forward. But yeah. Hey, look, Shane's bringing like a whole new look to this offense, and I can't wait to start to see it in the limited preseason that we get and kind of get a feel for what this is going to look like. Once Russell Wilson gets all the MVP votes at the end of this next season under Waldy's leadership here, all these trade rumors will go to bed, or they won't. We'll be doing the same thing next offseason after Wilson wins the MVP and a trophy.
We're just getting started with this offseason. We have this entire offseason of Russell Wilson trade rumors to wade through.
Okay, I have a question for the listeners, and they can weigh in on the Ring of Honor or just email us or however they want to get a hold of us here. But I'm inclined to make this the last episode that we address any Russell Wilson trade rumor for the entire offseason. But other people might have other feelings. They may want us to wade in on each and every one of these stupid ass discussions. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, the flock should know where we stand on this. And I don't believe it's going to change. I saw Greg Bell post the percentage chance, the betting odds for Russell Wilson ending up on another NFL franchise this offseason.
Was it negative 4,000?
No, it was exactly 0.
There we go.
And I felt like that was accurate.
Yeah.
I like having accurate reporters out on the Seahawks beat. And Greg seems to have found the most accurate number that I could find. That wasn't hyperbole, like negative 2,000.
Yeah. Yeah. He did.
Although
his
in
research.
betting odds, I think negative 2,000 is actually something that you can bet on that.
Yeah, that would be
win money if
correct.
it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be correct.
I don't know. I don't know how those betting odds work.
I don't either. I'm just saying they ain't happening. And so is Greg Bell. And I like that. All right, Brandon, getting into the second half of the show here. We're gonna make this go a little more quickly because my mystery truck that apparently can't be fixed by anybody apparently is miraculously fixed. And I have exactly 6 hours to do 3 days worth of stuff before I have to drive back to Washington in a snowstorm. So we're gonna hustle this up a little bit.
Let's move on to an email. Then we got one from Cole Hawk. Says, will you consider a members only uncensored version on a regular basis? The off season is a catfish. I found you two catfish years ago during football withdrawal syndrome. That's why your show is so catfish important to me. The members only uncensored episode was the catfish. Don't be afraid if some catfish is offended. You guys do a damn good job. Please continue to produce some off-season content. Go Hawks.
Catfish. Yeah, catfish. I think we should do that immediately. Yeah. I don't know how much extra work that actually makes for you, but
the way I can do it is I can post it to the Patreon feed at gettintheflock.com. If I post it there in the Patreon feed, people can cut and paste it and put it in their podcast player. So if they're a paid subscriber going through that way, and then it just creates not zero extra work because I do have to go in and make the edits, but I can put it there and make it a lot less work because one of the things that I found is, and maybe I don't need to get into everything here, but when there's a new platform that comes online, and I went through, when was it, a week or so ago, where I had 2 or 3 of the same episodes because we did ad-free shows and we did bonus shows, and I did bonus shows under different feeds. And so it was a pain in the butt to try and clean all that up just for getting into new platforms. And I don't want to have to go through that.
Okay, so no.
But I will do it for those people who subscribe at gettintheflock.com. And one of the things that I did, so if you want the uncensored, the uncatfished versions of the show, I will put them up, gettintheflock.com. I even brought back the $1 a month option. And really, the best thing to do for us is if you do the $1 a month option, just opt for the $12 a year option, because otherwise you get a transaction fee that comes out of our pocket every single month.
It's highway robbery. It's highway robbery.
It is. Yeah. But if you do that, if you do the $12 a year option, I normally don't even send stickers out for the $1 a month because, like I said,
you have things to do.
Yeah. Then it's then you're paying us to
lose money.
To lose money, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you do the annual option, I will send you stickers. If you're a $3 a month subscriber, and you do the full year, I'll send you a patch, which is at the $5 level. If you're at the $5 level or above, or the $12 level and above, and you do the full year, I will send you the stainless steel Seahawkers podcast pint glasses that we had
which
made.
Is dope.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you want to get any of those things up at the higher level, do the full year and make sure I have your address, and I'll send you something.
Brandon's making it rain for the little flockers this offseason, man.
And you get to hear all of Adam's language, and you get to hear me swear when people send me emails that have swear words in them.
Right, when you make Brandon swear. So now you know how to get it done, because I can't do it. Listen to me try to get him to swear, 40,000 times in the last 8 years?
Yeah.
Like I can't even bait you into it half the time.
But I can't just not read the words that you send to me.
You're basically Will Ferrell from Anchorman when it comes to emails.
Go catfish yourself, San Diego.
There it is. Yes. See, now if you had become a little flocker, you would have actually got to hear Brandon say that for reals. And trust me, worth it.
Well, enough of you have asked now for the uncensored version of the show that I'm going to do a trial period on this. So we'll see how it works throughout the offseason. Maybe we'll continue it beyond that. I feel like if people are signing up for a whole year of this, we have to at least continue it for a year. But yes, getintheflock.com. Dawid Sulajewski came in with $1 a month. And so Dawid, welcome to the flock. And that was our one new member this past 2 weeks.
I'm all about not getting skunked. I just want at least one each episode. Is that too much to ask for?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
maybe
it's good for my ego.
We withdraw our next episode until we if nobody's come in and you're wondering where are these guys?
Yeah, we'll threaten to hold out.
Maybe it's because we're waiting on you to get in the flock.
I just want more input on how many little flockers that we have. I that's what I want.
We've got a podcast review here. Says a message from a freeloader by Papa Luns. And looks like it's coming from iTunes. Says, where would my life be without this podcast? A lot more boring, at the very least. These guys make my day, whether it's a new episode or me going back in time to the old ones to hear the freezing cold takes or the wildly accurate takes that make me wonder if they are prophetic. Well, yes, I'm a freeloader, no income. I'm only 15. Someday I'll be in the flockers and I'll be able to make it up. Love this show. And it's a great way to unwind until I get to hear Adam rant about the mainstream media or aliens or anything in between, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Wish I could give it more than 5 stars. These guys are seriously great. Go Hawks.
Dude, go Hawks, man. Appreciate that a ton. And I would like to know what he thinks the ratio of prophetic takes to freezing cold takes is.
Yeah, probably 12-1.
Yeah. Exactly. And well done by you, actually. That was 12-1.
It's the golden Hawker ratio.
That's exactly right. Wow, you're basically the Leonardo da Vinci of Hawker.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Coming up with great nicknames for our new OC.
Yeah.
I'm on fire this episode.
Yeah. God, how does it feel?
It's like an NBA Jam where you're doing 3 somersaults and just dunking the ball into the hoop.
Brandon's heating up.
He's on fire.
He's on fire. It's a good thing it's -4 outside. You could just open a window, right?
Yeah, melt the snow.
Yeah.
One email before we get into do better and better at life from the Bard, John Davison. Oh, gosh. We have winners, too, from the Pick'em League. Well, I will announce... Oh, well, we already did announce the winner because he already locked it up the last episode. So congratulations to Christian. I will be going through the top 10 and yes, getting prizes out. But yeah, we'll go. I'll go down the whole list of the top 10 on the next show.
Okay.
Email from John Davison says, "Hi, fellas. My rage has subsided enough now to get in touch. What a day. We lost to the bloody Rams. Newcastle got beat at Arsenal in the FA Cup 2-0 in extra time, and it was my fucking birthday. Someday, Aren't there just times when you just hate sport? But hey-ho, that's it now, and it's over. Is it an American thing to root for someone? Me? Seattle first, second, third, and last. No one else. That's it. Just watch the game. I am writing this as the 2020 Pick'em League champion, and I am only current for the next week. I am sure I would have regained my crown, so I am blaming COVID. And the Rams, and Newcastle, and my birthday. I send my very best wishes to Will Gisley, and he is in a very exclusive club. How about creating one, Brandon? However, I just want him to know I am not bitter, but I will not be flying over for the inauguration. Enjoy your knife, Will. They're great and is now a part of my fishing bag. It's going to be a long time until September. Go Hawks! From John the Bard.
Yeah, John's not wrong. It's been kind of a rough road the last year in life and in sports, man.
Yeah.
I'd feel a little surly about it too.
And the thing is, he doesn't have to fly all that far. If he's going to coronate Christian, he just has to go from England to Norway. I feel like that's a shorter flight for him.
Yeah, that's like going from Montana to, I don't know, Nebraska.
Sure.
Yeah, far, but not that far.
That's okay. We'll let John slide on it. I'm sure at the next time that we're all able to meet up and go to a game together. That's when we can all get together and have this. This is an in-person club. I don't need to create this. This is where we all get together, is whenever we do an annual game meetup. Like, all the Pick'em champions are kind of obligated to be there.
Ah, yes. Yep. I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, without question, right? Like, isn't that part of like receiving your prize, is that you have to make the commitment to be at all the meetups?
Yeah. The win doesn't come with a travel stipend or anything, but you're the obligation's there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. What do you say we get on to some do better and better at life, and you can go pick up your truck?
All right, good. Because I wanted to make my do better, the stupid freaking truck. You know what? Maybe I will. Maybe I will make it the stupid freaking truck. I bought this 06 Ford Ranger, and I was like, this is sweet. Guess what? It's only got, 68,000 miles. It's got a manual. It's got, roll down windows, so catfish doesn't break. Like, it's going to be awesome. And people love these trucks. It's not a Chevy. This is going to be good for my deal. I'll be able to drive all over the place for work because, I put on, 60,000 miles a year. This will be good. It'll be great. Not only that, but the dealership that I'm getting it from, the lead mechanic is good friends with us and some of our lifelong friends from high school, right?
Oh.
Like, he had looked it over. This is a hell of a good truck. Cool. I buy it. Immediately, the clutch goes up. Neat. That was $1,500. And then finally, when the first snow flies this year, I'm like, oh, cool. Maybe I'll put it in 4-wheel drive so I don't crash. Nope. It doesn't want to work. It does this chunking noise. Sounds like the whole thing's about to explode. It's just, a major problem. And I haven't even paid off this stupid thing yet. Like, I haven't even driven it for more than 6 months. And I've already got 2 major repairs. So I take it in to have this looked at. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. This is the transfer case. That's where the noise is coming from. I take it in. It was supposed to be done last Friday. Today is Wednesday. And guess what just got done about an hour ago? The freaking truck. Because they pulled it apart 3 different times before they finally found what they think is the problem. This is some mystery truck that can't be solved. And it's really putting a huge problem in my life here. I'm very frustrated. I just want the things that are supposed to work to just catfishing work. So Smokey the Ranger, do better.
You named your Ranger Smokey?
Yeah. So it's a Ford Ranger. It's black.
Yeah.
And I was like, what famous Rangers do I know? And the only one that came to mind, or the first one that came to mind, was Smokey the Bear. He's the most famous Ranger I know.
Yeah, Smokey Bear. There's no "the" in Smokey Bear's name.
You don't know.
Dude, tell me I don't know.
You don't know. It's not like you work for the Forest Service or something.
Yeah, it's not like I'm a spokesperson on behalf of Smokey Bear for the last 13 years.
All the time. When did they lose "the"?
It's never been there. People put it there.
But it makes more sense with the.
No, that's his name. First name Smokey, last name Bear. Adam the Emmert.
Has a ring.
Shahane the Waldron.
Yeah, there it is. That's the one. Shahane the Waldron.
Oh, the show.
I'm just frustrated. With this truck situation. This is after the Patriot, like the manual transmission, which never dies. Like on all the forums, everybody has problems with the automatics. And there's like one dude that sort of had a problem with the manual once. It just exploded. $4,100 later. I get to have that one fixed. I'm tired of this crap.
Yeah, and you are giving me a hard time for owning a Chevy.
You know what you did? Hopefully you never have to work on the thing.
That's true.
Yeah, because that's the thing about GM. Like when they do break down, like have fun pulling the entire motor to change the spark plug because that's how their stupid engineers work.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
My do better this week is for all the people who are asking nonsense questions to Seahawks legend Cam Chancellor, because I had to see this post on, what was it, the anniversary of Super Bowl 49, where Cam Chancellor starts off a post saying, "To this day, people still ask me, why didn't you give the ball to Marshawn? And to this day, I don't know." And I don't want to see this, for one, because I don't need the reminder about Super Bowl 49. And let me help you out that if you are talking to Cam Chancellor, you ask him 0 questions about Super Bowl 49. If you need to ask him a question, you ask it, and you just can't think of anything else to bring up around the great Cam Chancellor, you ask him what else he thinks he needed to do to rightfully be voted as Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl 48. That should be the one question to the top of your mind when you're talking to Seahawks legend Cam Chancellor.
And the second one should be, when you hit Demaryius Thomas, did he fly 5 yards backwards or 7?
How much of the expiration of Demaryius Thomas's lungs did you just feel on your body? Like, did the force of the air coming out of his body, was that the equal force that you impacted him with?
Exactly. Yeah, a science question. Yeah. That's what you ask him. Yeah.
That's a good science question, isn't it?
It really was.
And
I'm
can you
actually
measure
very
the
impressed.
force of that expression of breath?
I don't know. There's a lot of, there's volume questions there and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get Discovery Channel on board. We'll set this up. We'll have a Demaryius Thomas dummy that Cam Chancellor can run into and see if we can adequately measure this.
Even though the Mythbusters guys hate each other now, like, we need them on this. We need them to get back together to solve this.
This could actually be the type of experiment that brings them together and they can live happily ever after.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. This needs to happen.
So, for the fans out there that are going up to Cam Chancellor, asking him nonsense questions, do better.
And not only that, but if I were Cam Chancellor and somebody asked me, why didn't you run the ball?
Yeah, the question is, quote, why didn't you give the ball to Marshawn?
Yeah. You know what my response would be? I'm not the quarterback.
Or the offensive coordinator.
Couldn't give him the ball.
Or the coach.
Yeah. I'm not the quarterback. I couldn't give him the ball. I played safety. I wasn't on the field.
On to Better at Life.
All right, man. My Better at Life this week is for Russell Carrington Wilson, the man who wins the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. I guess if you're not going to get MVP, this is, I don't know, second best thing. Like, they actually gave that award out last on the awards show, which I found interesting too.
The Man of the Year award?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, and it's just to show what a classy guy is, how much he means to the Seattle area and to the NFL as a whole. And his speech was great, and talking about how we could all come together and really hit on all the right notes. I mean, he didn't make any major announcements in his speech, like some other NFL quarterbacks to, kind of hijack the show. Aaron Rodgers. And I just thought
Did he
it was
go
great.
into it like, I didn't watch. Did Aaron Rodgers go into like a State Farm rant and how he's coming back to the Packers and not being traded to the Bears or the Houston Texans?
No, he announced his engagement to Shailene Woodley or whatever
that's
her name
right.
is.
I did see the news on that.
Yeah, like I hear him like talking about his MVP acceptance speech, and I'm like, he's like, yeah, and I got engaged, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, didn't you just break up with Danica Patrick like 3 minutes ago?
It feels like 3 minutes, but it's probably been 3 years.
No, it's literally, I think it's less than a year.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. So, I mean, Aaron Rodgers making yet another really smart decision. That's going to go really well for him. But Russell Wilson doing none of that. Didn't even demand a trade during his speech. That was neat. But in all seriousness, it's a very prestigious award, and I'm just proud of the guy. I love having him as my franchise quarterback. I know the Seahawks do as well, and that's why he won't be traded. But congratulations to Russell Wilson, NFL, Walter Payton, Man of the Year.
Yeah, just like you don't trade the NFL MVP, you don't trade the NFL Man of the Year.
No, you don't. So, yeah, Russell Wilson better at life than Skip Bayless.
My better at life than Skip Bayless this week. I don't know if you saw this news. I'm sure you saw the news that Chris Wessling passed over the weekend.
I just saw that yesterday, dude, and I was freaking stunned by that, to be honest. I don't listen to the show a lot, and it's probably been 8 months since I really listened to that pod. And the last time that I had listened, like, he was kind of done with his treatment and was doing really well.
Well, he had suffered a bit of a setback, and you could kind of hear it in his voice. Like, he showed up to, I think the last time listeners heard him was after the divisional round, and he came on for a little bit, and he sounded, like he's been going through treatment, but I didn't get the sense that he was nearing the end necessarily, just that he was tired and haven't gone through treatments and that sort of thing. And so he was just needing breaks and not able to do a full show. So, and maybe part of it too was I just didn't even want my mind to go that place, because he had fought through cancer and beat it, and then got married to Lakeisha and had a kid. And so, yeah, I was the same as you, although I think I heard the news right as it happened, because I was watching on Twitter and it was RIP Chris that was trending. And so when I saw that, that's when the news hit me. And man, that hit me. It hit me hard. I know that, especially because really around the NFL, and it started out as Around the League, and that podcast started. They broke off from the Dave Damashek show, I think, like 2 months before we started this show. It was right about the same time.
He was right about the same time.
And so he's one of those guys that I've been listening to over these past 7-8 years. And, just when you listen to a show that much and you start to feel like you really get to know a guy like him, and such a cool guy, knows so much about football. And really, I do want to get the better life to him, but I really wanted to give it to Wes and the whole crew of the podcast, because, I mean, as bummed as I was when I heard the news, and I was really bummed, but I started thinking about the crew there. And man, if I'm down about a guy that I've only listened to and it's hitting me this hard, how hard is it hitting their particular group? And then the more I thought about it, I got to thinking, well, shoot, this happened, I think Saturday was when the announcement came. So the next show was going to be the Super Bowl recap show. And, how, when you have a game of that magnitude, how are they going to balance that with really remembering one of their co-hosts that had been with the show the whole time? And they absolutely nailed it in terms of the right thing to do with this show, because I think they did what all longtime listeners of that show would have wanted. They didn't do a recap of the Super Bowl. They barely just mentioned it as far as, okay, the Super Bowl happened, but this is a discussion about one of our friends that we've known a long time. And so instead of a recap of the Super Bowl, it was an hour of touching stories about what Wes meant to all of them, his history about his move out to LA, meeting his wife, Lakeisha. And I thought that was such a touching tribute in a moment where they had they could have just talked Super Bowl and also talked about Wes, but they did what really the moment deserved and talked, because you can find Super Bowl talk out there on any podcast. If you're a longtime listener of that show, that's what you wanted to hear. And it was a great show. And for that decision to really honor Chris and what he meant to that show over the years, doing it the right way, Wes, as well as the whole crew of the Around the NFL podcast, better at life than Skip Bayless.
Hell yeah, man. And It was shocking because, I mean, Chris being a relatively young man.
Yeah, 47.
Yeah, just tough. A tough blow. And, I mean, I can't imagine what it's like for everybody that, worked with him and were, great. They all seem to be great friends. Just a bummer, man. And honestly, he was maybe one of my favorite folks on that podcast. He was the guy that I wanted to hear from, maybe the most out of all of them.
Yeah, because you respected his type of knowledge, even though he was the only one of those guys that picked the Broncos to win the Super Bowl over the Seahawks.
Look, even the great Chris Wessling had flaws.
That was the one.
But no, he will be missed. And, a great dude, it seems. And, just a bummer overall.
A huge bummer, and definitely going to miss him on that show. It sounds like they're going to continue to talk about him in these coming weeks too. And if you haven't checked it out, if you're a longtime listener, absolutely go back. And if you were thinking that I think by the title of the episode, you know what it's going to be about. So be sure and check that out if you're a longtime listener, and just make sure you have a box of tissues handy. Maybe don't listen at work if if you don't want to be the person that cries at work, but definitely check that show out.
That should always be your goal. Don't be the person that cries at work.
Even when it's an emotional and touching tribute to somebody that you've listened to, you don't want to be that.
Yeah, you hold that catfish in. That's what you do.
And with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Hey.